Hi everyone, Katie Sutton here, intuitive channel and founder of Zen Within Academy and the New Earth Now School with your November 2023 energy update. I've got three themes that I want to share with you this month. The first is trust the process. The second is healing the father wound. And the third is resting in desire. All right, everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe to this page so you don't miss any of my updates. And I've got some amazing things coming up next year that I am really excited to start sharing with you. We're taking a trip to Peru, we're taking a trip to Mount Shasta, and we are going to be launching New Earth Now Relating, which is all about building healthy relationships with ourselves and others and learning to co-create. So that's going to all be happening next year. So if you're not on our newsletter and not signed up for that, check the link below this video so you can get on the information list about all of those amazing adventures and things that are coming up in 2024. But for now, let's talk about November. So the very first thing that I want to mention is this theme of trust the process. And I am just back from hosting a multi-day Vision Quest retreat with my friend Leah Motlow and my husband Josh. And one of the things that kept coming up throughout the weekend, I kept saying, just trust the process to all of the participants, because we have a very distinct kind of framework that we take them through on these Vision Quest retreats, and everything that needs to happen to prepare them to go out on the land happens. Even the very last ceremony that we do, the giveaway ceremony, they still have to trust the process in that because they want to understand it. They want to understand all the things that are happening. Their mental bodies get really activated. And I just kept saying to them, trust the process. I promise it's all going to work out perfectly. And it always does. And I think that is such an important theme and metaphor for all of us, especially as we are moving out of these really massive eclipse energies that we just had. Holy cow. I don't know about you all, but those 2 weeks between the eclipses felt like 2 months to me. This was a very different eclipse portal. The first one, when it opened, the energy was so wonky and so much weird stuff was happening and so many hard things are happening in our world with what's going on in the Middle East and some of these natural disasters that are occurring, like in Mexico with the hurricanes. And it was just a hard energy, right? And then we got to the end of the eclipse portal and there was a release. There's a palpable release of energy, a shift, a letting go. And so there's a process at play here, right? There is a process at play on the astrological level with how these eclipses happen, how these energies align. There's a process at play here on Earth with our seasons and our cycles that we move through. There's a process at play within our own individual lives, our own individual lifespan of how we ascend along the spiritual awakening path. Everything is a process, and there are so many layered on top of each other that we really just have to exist in a place of trust that everything is aligning as it should. And the reality is that no matter what is happening in your life, no matter how hard it is, no matter what is going on, that this idea of trusting the process needs to be a tenet for you. Holding a vibration of that trusting the process is very important. No matter what is occurring, things are probably falling away. Things are probably wanting to change in your life. You may be having some fear come up around the things that might be changing as you've gone through some transitions recently. Trust the process and trust that you are supported and trust that you are being guided and trust yourself and your own intuition as you're making decisions. So this idea of trusting the process is happening at a microcosm level, where individually we are going through shifts and changes and we need to be in that place of trust and surrender. But it's also going through and happening at the macrocosm level. Because a lot of people are coming to me and saying, Katie, I just really don't know if I want to be here right now. This is really hard to witness. It's hard to witness that there's another war happening. It's hard to witness these natural disasters. It's hard to witness people putting their head in the sand and not waking up and not realizing what's going on. It's really hard to witness. But I have to say to you all, my friends, that these things are all working themselves out, that everything that is happening on the world stage is coming to the surface because it needs to be seen. There is an outpouring of desire for peace and love and a resolution to these really old, complicated conflicts that have been happening on this planet for a long time. And there's a desire for that peace to anchor. There's a lot of people calling for that peace to anchor. And that is what is needed, right? Sometimes we have these world events that happen and they actually serve to create a ripple effect out into the collective, to bring people together, to get people aligned with a particular frequency, with a particular vibration. And this eclipse portal was really important because we passed through an important gateway of drawing in more of that frequency of unity consciousness onto this planet. More of that is available to us now. And oftentimes what happens when that anchors is that it stirs up the darkness. It stirs up the duality. It stirs up the dissonance, right? The non-harmonious vibrations get all stirred up. And it's the same thing in your life, right? You went through this eclipse portal and some stuff probably got stirred up. Some things got brought to the surface, some things that you can no longer not see, right? Some of the illusion was wiped away, right? And as I'm recording this, we're just out of Samhain or Halloween, right? And we've got the Day of the Dead coming up. So we're doing ancestral work. We're pulling stuff from deep in our generational lines and bringing that to the surface and saying, no more. I don't want this anymore. I'm letting this go. I don't want to be in this cycle anymore. I don't want to be in this pain. I don't want to be in this struggle. I don't want to be in this duality. I'm letting go. And so there's a leap of faith in this desire that we have to step into of just knowing that we're okay and knowing that we can trust this process that is happening on our microcosm level, on our individual life, but also at the grander level, at the macrocosm level. And so don't get sucked into the stories and the diatribes and the fear mongering that is happening. There is a lot of that going around, which is just a natural part of this process. When the duality is clearing, when we are coming into greater unity and more of that unity consciousness is anchoring onto the planet, it's going to stir up the fear. And there are a lot of people who don't have a center post within their being to be able to pull out of that fear. And so instead of being able to come back to their center, come back to their own reality, come back to their own truth of what they want to see anchoring on this planet, they feed into that fear and they amplify that fear and they talk about that fear and they get wrapped up in that fear. And I'm sure you might be one of those people, right? You might be one of those people that has gotten sucked into it recently, and you've got to pull yourself back and clear your space and find your center again, right? That's why last month, one of the themes was, the most important themes was creating a space to breathe, right? Pulling out of that energy and creating space in your field so that you can channel more of your truth, more of your light into your vibratory field. So trust that there is a process at play. There are cycles that are happening that are moving us to a greater degree of consciousness on this planet, a greater degree of unity on this planet. That is all happening, even if it's not obvious in the now. And we're going to be in this cycle of watching these difficult things come to the surface and then having these bright moments of unity off and on for the next several years. Okay, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So if you don't have trust in yourself and trust in the process that's at play here, you're going to get pulled asunder, like you're a boat in a storm. You're going to get pulled under by those waves. So really make sure that you are coming back to your center and coming back to what feels right and true for you. Okay, whatever is unique to you that feels right and true, coming back to that. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, we have fall, we have the letting go that's happening, and it looks like things are dying, right? It looks like things that are falling away and dying. But what's happening as those leaves fall to the ground is they're creating compost. They're creating fertilizer for the new beginnings and the new growth that's going to happen in springtime. And so here in the Northern Hemisphere, as we move into fall, that's what you should be looking at. What do I need to do to pull that energy back and down into my body so that I can fertilize, so that I can create compost for myself, so that I can be well and healthy as I move forward, as I move into the holiday seasons, which we know can be very stressful. So trust that there is a process at play and trust yourself. That's my first theme for you. Trust the process. Okay? So the second theme that I want to talk with you about is healing the father wound. All right, dear ones, this is loud. Okay, this is a loud and complicated theme. You hear me talk a lot about healing our relationship to the mother, to Mother Earth. We also are working consistently on healing our relationship to Source, healing our relationship to Creator, to God, whatever you want to call it. The overarching part of this theme of healing the father wound is that healing our connection to Source, healing this unworthiness energy that exists in our above space that says that we're not supported, that we're not worthy of being supported, that we're not worthy of receiving that support. Healing that wound of mistrust, perhaps, with the Creator. Maybe you're angry at God because of all the things that are happening on the planet. Maybe you're confused as to why God would be allowing some of these things to happen. So this is healing that relationship, stepping out of some of these old religious paradigms that say, I need to go through somebody else to get to God. I need to go through somebody else to get to the Creator. And understanding that you have your own dynamic and important relationship with Source, with God, with the Creator. Whatever you believe in, you have your own. And so we're going to be working a lot on our above space and healing that wound with that divine father, that divine masculine energy this month. And I'm seeing this come up in session with individuals, and myself included, where we're healing our relationship to our biological father, like our paternal energies here, our father wound. We are healing that on an individual level as well, because we're always doing the macrocosm and the microcosm, okay? And so as you're doing this work and healing those father wounds that you may carry, that might look like healing some wounds of repressed anger, of repressed emotion. The masculine on this planet, our fathers, right, are not or were not shown how to exist and rest in their healthy emotional balance, in healthy relationship to the feminine. For the most part, maybe you have an exception in your family, and that's wonderful. But most of us were raised by parents, and especially fathers, who didn't have a healthy emotional connection to their own emotional states, okay? And oftentimes what that came up as in our relationships with them as children is when we would be emotional, either we would be shut down or they would get angry, right? They would be able to express anger but no other emotions, right? If we look at what's happening on the world stage with the conflict in the Middle East, what are we seeing, right? We're seeing a father wound playing out here where there is repressed anger, there is repressed emotion, there is shame, there's religious conflict, all this masculine energy being worked out over there in the Middle East. And what we're wanting to bring to it is calm, peace, right? Love, connection. All of those things can't come in until we heal these wounds. So this is being stirred up for us on an individual level, but also on a collective level as well. And so some of the things that you might be noticing as you're healing these father wounds this month is that you are working on your relationship to your own masculine energy, your own shame stories and your own judgments around how you have internally judged yourself for being overly emotional or being too cold and not having emotion, right? These are some of the things that might be getting stirred up as you're starting to heal this father wound. And whatever happened in your dynamic with your father in this lifetime is affecting your relationship to Source. And so a lot of times parents, we had fathers who were just the provider, right? They just were making the money and bringing the bacon home and providing for the family, and they thought that's where their job ended. They didn't support the feminine. They didn't support the mothers in the way that they needed to be emotionally held so they could be the best mothers that they could be, so that they could have increased capacity and increased ability to sit in compassion. And so a lot of these things are going to be themes that are present in November, I think, and in December and January as well. I think we're going to be carried through this energy for a few months as we start to work out this stuff. If we look at what's happening in our conflict in the Middle East and all that religious energy that's clearing and all of that conflict in the name of God, right? Conflict in the name of the Creator, we're also clearing that at an individual level as well. So there may be some family wounds around conflict that are also being stirred up, around separation, around disconnection, that are coming to the surface with this healing the father wound theme as well. So this one's pretty big, it's pretty massive, and it's pretty tricky. And what I tend to find with the father wound is it's so much less talked about than the mother wound. And It tends to almost be made fun of, especially for the feminine. If you had a difficult relationship with your father, you're told that you have daddy issues, which I hate that. That is not a great way to talk about it, right? Really what is happening is that lack of connection and that lack of emotional support and safety that you had in your relationship with your father is creating certain dynamics in your relationship with the masculine and with other partners going forward that are not healthy. So this is also a relationship healing theme, okay? So this one's really important. So this would be a good month to look at, okay, what is my relationship to my father? What did I not get from my father? What did I get from my father? How did he treat my mother? How does that impact me in how I show up in relationship and how I show up in relationship to the masculine within myself and within those around me? These are all really important questions to be asking this month as we are seeing these things happen on the world stage. This is where your individual work can lie. Because as you start to heal this wound and you start to develop a stronger, more trusting connection to source, to God, to creator, that sends a ripple effect out, right, into the collective, which is actually impacting what's happening in the Middle East, whether you know it or not. Okay? So that's the second theme. Let's talk about the third theme. So I really love this third theme. It feels good when I talk about it. And I'm really excited to be bringing this through in our healing circle on the 8th at 7:30 Eastern, because I think it's a really important one and it's actually going to support you in healing that father wound as well. So this theme, resting in desire, okay? If I was to take trust the process and heal the father wound and bring those together, it would align with this third theme, resting in desire. There's a couple of things with this energy that I want to share. The first is that this is inherently a divine feminine energy. Okay, this energy of desire. I'm not saying that the masculine within you doesn't have desire as well, but feminine energy is magnetic and desire is magnetic. Even if you just speak the word desire and feel that in your body, it creates, in my body anyways, this feeling of openness, of magnetism, this feeling of wanting, this feeling of longing. And that's a very attractive energy, okay? I'm not talking about attractive to the opposite sex, although I'm sure that's in there too, but just attractive to source energy, attractive to creator energy. When we rest in desire, when we rest in that place of visioning what we want, and we allow that to move through our whole being and overtake our being to a certain extent, that is a magnetic energy that begins to pull people, places, and things to us so that we can create the life that we want. So this resting in desire theme is a manifestation theme. And last month we talked about in our healing circle opening up our energetic space and our energy body so that we could channel more light. What that was doing was creating the space for us to actually rest in this place of desire, which is something that we want to be able to languish in, which is a very feminine energy, a very beautiful feminine energy. And when we rest in that desire, the things that we are seeking seek us. Okay? It's only when we skip over that place of desire and we move through it too quickly and we try to get to the action, right? We try to get to that completion energy of drawing the things in that we get a little sideways. When we rest in desire and we start to vision what we want, we start to put little feelers out to the universe that say, hey, this is me and this is what I would like to have. And the energy of that starts to coalesce on the other side, right, on the etheric plane, and it starts to make its way to us. But what often happens, or at least what I see in people's manifestation process, is they have the desire, and instead of resting in that, they go immediately to try to take the action to make it happen. And then they interrupt that process that's happening in the ethers where that energy is coalescing and working its way to them. So this is about slowing down. Okay? This is about slowing down. And if I align this with our sexuality, right, it's about slowing down in that too, right? Slowing down and being in that energy of foreplay, that energy of desire, and just resting in that and allowing the things to naturally happen in divine and perfect timing. It's the same thing in your manifestation process. It's exactly the same. Okay? And so this is a time for you to be in your visioning space. Be in your space of creating a vision board, journaling, really getting clear on what it is that you want. What do you want next year to look like, right? This is the time to be planting those seeds of desire, those seeds of want in your life, and starting to call that energy towards you without being an effort. And this really aligns very beautifully with trust the process as well, right? Because when we trust the process, we know that the desire is enough. Also, if we've healed that father wound, we know that we're worthy of receiving these things. We're worthy of receiving sources support, creators support in bringing these things to us without us having to fight and work and struggle and go into conflict with other people because there's not enough. All of that falls away in this theme of resting in desire. So this is a really important theme. This is going to change. If y'all join me for Healing Circle, this is going to change how you look at your manifestation. This is going to change how you create. And that's beautiful, right? We want to come into a new way of creating on this planet where it's not so filled with struggle. It's not so filled with hardship. That's really what this theme is about. So I hope that you will take some time this month to really rest in that desire and begin to vision what you want and really just feel that in your body, right? Allow that magnetic energy of desire to expand and be the beacon of light that is calling those things to you. And don't get too in your head, right? Step out of your head with this and go into your heart. Manifest from here. Manifest from your heart space. That's really what I'm inviting you to do this month, okay? So that's going to be our main theme for the Healing Circle. So that's happening on the 8th at 7:30 p.m. You can get the recording if you can't join live. I think this is going to be a really important one, a really juicy one. So sign up for it, join us. It's sliding scale. And as I mentioned, we're taking a sacred pilgrimage to Peru next May. Looks like it's going to be the 8th through the 17th of May, give or take. I'm just finalizing the details. We have an amazing husband and wife duo that are shamanic practitioners and medicine people that live in Peru that are going to be our guides, that are going to be working with Josh and I. So you've got two couples holding that divine feminine, divine masculine balanced space to take you to this sacred place in Peru, all these sacred places in Peru, and go on this sacred pilgrimage. I'm really 12 souls with us. If you're interested, then please go to the link below this video and send me an email. I've got my email address there, and say, hey, I want more information about Peru as soon as it's live so that you can get first on the list. I also want to say that I've opened up a couple more spots for my fully resourced women's retreat on 11/11. So if you're watching this and you really wanted to join, we've got a couple more spots opened up for that. We're going to be sold out, I think, but we've got a couple spots left. And I also want to say that I am gearing up to get ready to teach New Earth Relating, which is going to start in January of next year. And I'm really excited about it. We're going to be working on relationships. Whew, big topic. Relationship to self, relationship to source, to earth, to each other, partnership, sacred partnership, all of these things over this 6-month course that I'm going to be bringing in live starting in January. So stay tuned for more information about that. We also have a website and branding relaunch that's happening in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be interviewed on Serious Joy. It was rescheduled. If you heard my update a couple of weeks ago, it got rescheduled for November 17th, so I'll include the link to that below this video as well. So lots of big things stirring for me and for Zen Within Academy and the New Earth Now School. So stay in touch. Make sure you get on our newsletter list so that you don't miss anything. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Have an amazing November. Thanks for watching. I love you all. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Please share this video with anybody that needs to see it, and I'll see you next month. Bye-bye.